Have you ever felt out of place? Like everyone around you is playing a game that no longer excites you? You speak, but no one truly listens. You observe patterns others don't. You find pleasure in solitude, while others fear being alone. So there's a real chance you're not broken, you're not lost. You might simply be too intelligent for the society you're living in. And don't worry, this isn't a flex. This isn't a video to stroke your ego or throw around high IQ buzzwords. No, this is a deep psychological dive into the mind of one of the darkest, most brutally honest philosophers to ever live, Arthur Schopenhauer. He believed most people float on the surface of life, chasing approval, pleasure, and distractions. But a rare few dive deeper. And those people, they're often misunderstood, isolated, and labeled as strange. So today we'll uncover 5 signs you're too intelligent for society, based entirely on the brutally raw wisdom of Schopenhauer. But a warning, once you hear these, you can't unsee them. This might change how you view yourself and the world forever. Let's begin. Sign number 1. You struggle to enjoy shallow conversations. Schopenhauer once said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." Why? Because most people speak not to communicate truth, but to protect illusions. They talk to fill the silence, not to say something meaningful. If you're the kind of person who gets mentally drained after small talk about the weather, sports, gossip, you might have thought something was wrong with you. But Schopenhauer would say otherwise. To him, the more intelligent a person is, the more they suffer through shallow conversations. It's not that you dislike people. You dislike pretense. You crave ideas, not noise. Meaning, not momentum. Have you ever been in a room surrounded by people, yet felt completely alone? Because their conversations sound like echoes, not voices? You nod, smile, even try to engage, but your mind drifts. You start observing rather than participating. And that's because you're wired to think deeply, not perform socially. Here's where it gets more real. Smart people don't just get bored with small talk. They feel a moral weight in wasting time on it. Because they know time is limited, and spending it on meaningless chatter is like throwing away hours of your life. Schopenhauer wrote, "The greatest achievements of the human mind are generally received with indifference, bordering on hostility." And that's exactly how intelligent individuals feel when they try to bring up something profound in a group that just wants entertainment. So what do? They retreat. Not because they hate people, but because their intellect creates a filter and most of society just doesn't pass through it. Sign number 2. You're attracted to painful truths. Let's be honest, truth hurts. But intelligent people, truly intelligent people, don't run from pain. They lean into it. Schopenhauer didn't sugarcoat life. He said, "Life is a constant process of dying." Pretty grim, right? But here's the thing. He wasn't trying to depress you. He was trying to liberate you. By forcing you to confront reality, no matter how brutal it is. This is the second major sign. If you've ever felt drawn to uncomfortable truths, if you read philosophy, psychology, even tragedy, not for fun, but for clarity, then you're probably too smart for a culture addicted to comfort. Society rewards distraction. Netflix, dopamine, quick wins, empty affirmations. But you don't want comfort. You want the truth, even if it breaks you. Why? Because you know that only through breaking can you rebuild. Only through pain does evolution happen. You don't numb the wound. You study it. This can make life harder, but also richer. Here's something wild. Schopenhauer believed intelligence is measured not by how well you avoid suffering, but by how well you understand it. Let that sink in. Your ability to sit with your darkness, to analyze your failures, to look at society and say, "This doesn't make sense," that's not anxiety. That's awareness, and it often isolates you, because when you live in a world that prefers sweet lies over hard truths, the truth teller becomes the enemy. So if you find beauty in pain, clarity in solitude, and wisdom in sadness, you're not Broken, you're evolved. Sign number 3, you're deeply independent in thought and lifestyle. Schopenhauer was an outsider all his life. Not by accident, by choice. He believed most people were imitators, not originators. They followed the crowd, the fashion, the trends, not because it made sense, but because it made them belong. But for Schopenhauer, and perhaps for you, independence was the highest virtue. This is sign number 3. You don't just think outside the box. You never believed in the box to begin with. You don't chase societal milestones. College, 9-to-5 job, white picket fence. Those aren't default goals for you. They're options, not obligations. You question everything. Why should I believe in this religion? Why is money the ultimate marker of success? Why do I need to post everything I do on social media? Most people don't like these questions, because when you ask them, they're forced to see how little of their life is truly theirs. But you were born to question. Even as a child, you might have been the why kid. Why this? Why that? Why not this? You didn't accept answers blindly. You demanded logic, meaning, depth, and that kind of mental independence, it terrifies society, because society functions best when everyone thinks the same. But you refuse to. Conform. Not out of rebellion, but out of authenticity. And that, sir, makes you a rare breed. Sign number 4, you value solitude over social validation. Here's something radical Schopenhauer said. A man can be himself only when he is alone. Let's decode that. Most people are never truly themselves. They're versions of what society expects them to be. But the intelligent individual, he finds peace and power in solitude. And this is the 4th sign. You're not lonely when you're alone. You're finally free. No pressure to impress. No need to pretend. No masks. In solitude, you think better, feel deeper, and act more authentically. You don't need to constantly text someone, scroll endlessly, or attend events just to feel worthy. You can sit in a room with just your mind and not go crazy. In fact, you thrive. Schopenhauer warned, people are seldom themselves except in solitude. That means most of what you see on social media, on the street, or even in friend groups, is performance. But you crave substance over style. You'd rather read a dense book than go to a shallow party. You'd rather create than consume. You'd rather be misunderstood for being real than celebrated for being fake. That's not antisocial. That's intelligent, and society doesn't always reward that, but history does. Sign number 5. You see through the illusions of modern life. Last but not least, perhaps the most powerful sign of all, you see through the illusions. Schopenhauer believed society is built on lies, that happiness comes from materialism, that success means comparison, that loudness equals truth. But if you're highly intelligent, you start seeing the strings behind the puppet show. You realize, most people chase money but feel empty. Most influencers are insecure. Most news is fear, not fact. You don't hate society. You just see it clearly, and clarity can be lonely. Because when you're surrounded by illusions, being the one who sees the truth makes you a threat. You'll hear, you think too much. You're too serious. Why can't you just have fun? But Schopenhauer would say, talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Let that echo. You're not crazy for seeing through the game. You're just not playing it blindly anymore. And that is a different kind of power. So now the big question. If all these signs describe you, what do you do with that knowledge? Do you isolate yourself completely? Give up on society? No, you transcend it. You stop seeking permission to be who you are. You stop dimming your light just to fit into rooms that were never built for you. You stop apologizing for your intelligence, your depth, your vision. Because here's the truth Schopenhauer whispered across centuries. You don't need to be understood to be valuable. Let that land. You don't need to be clapped for, followed, or validated. Your mind, Your raw, unfiltered mind is enough. It may take time. You may lose people. You may walk alone. But what's waiting on the other side of that walk? Freedom, power, peace. The peace of not pretending. The power of being real in a world full of copies. So if this spoke to you deeply, then you're not alone. You're part of a rare tribe. The thinkers, the seekers, the outliers, and that deserves to be nurtured. So here's what I ask you to do, without hype, without gimmicks. Subscribe, because this channel is built for minds like yours. Comment, tell me which of these 5 signs hit you the hardest. Like, not for the algorithm, but to signal to others. You're not alone either. We are rare, but we are rising, and that changes everything. See you in the next one.